What up, folks? What it do? Welcome to a late edition of the Best Advice Ever podcast. Yeah, my apologies. It's your boy Mike Goodwin, the bowtie comedian, and I must again apologize for the late uploading of this podcast. The real issue of the situation was I had recorded a podcast. I just recently returned from Costa Rica. And I did a podcast episode, uploaded it, and this was before Wednesday. And Jeremy, congratulations to Jeremy, our producer, editor. He's a new father now. Round of applause. So I sent the episode, and it was kind of makeshift because I did it from my computer. I didn't have my high-tech Canon camera, didn't have the state-of-the-art microphone, but I shot it. And it would have been there on time, uploaded it. I get a text from Jeremy. It's like, hey, man, not hearing any audio. Might want to check it on your end. Went back, checked it. Couldn't access my microphone. Spent a bunch of time talking to the provider, the platform that I use, tech support, and it was to no avail. No avail. I couldn't access the microphone. I couldn't access the camera. I really think a part of that had to do with the internet service. The internet service was not strong. It was very weak. And that's what happened. So I'm trying to give you an abbreviated version of the Best Advice Ever podcast. It's the international episode, the late episode. But thank you again for tuning in. And as I start each and every podcast episode for most part when I'm on the road, I start with the on the road segment. Now, this podcast, I will not talk about Costa Rica. I'll try not to talk about Costa Rica. I'll talk about Costa Rica on the next podcast. But on this podcast, I just was on the road. I was on the road Friday, Saturday, and up until Wednesday, which is the Costa Rica part. But like I said, I'll hold off on the Costa Rica. But I spent Friday night doing a dream team event in Enterprise, Alabama. Enterprise, Alabama is outside of Dothan. I flew into Dothan. Had a wonderful time. Had an outstanding event. I love doing volunteer appreciation, dream team appreciation, whatever churches call their support staff, the volunteers, the folks that actually help to make ministry happen at the ground level. Had an outstanding time. What I didn't realize was when I flew into Dothan that Enterprise was 40 miles from Dothan. So I flew into Dothan for whatever reason. Maybe it was just me, and maybe it was just the flights that were available, but I didn't leave out of Columbia until about 1 o'clock, 12:30, which is very uncommon for me. I typically leave at the crack of dawn, and I'm usually where I'm supposed to be no later than 11, 12 o'clock. Have time to get to the hotel. But sometimes, and I haven't had an issue for the most part, the early check-in. You get, most times folks won't check in until 3 o'clock on average. So it's the times that you get to the place, and there's times I paid a little more to get an early check-in, and then there's times where I sat in the lobby while they got a room prepared. But that wasn't the case this time, because when I got into town, it was well after 3 o'clock. So by the time I got the rental car, made it to the hotel, put the coordinates in, I was like, ooh, I got a 30-minute drive. So I drive 30 minutes to a cul-de-sac, whatever the directions were or the address was. It didn't take me to the church. It took me to a cul-de-sac. Called the church. Ended up, I still was 15 miles from where I was supposed to be from the cul-de-sacs. Typically, if something like that happens, you're about 5 minutes away. Nah, 15. Drove to the event. Had a wonderful, wonderful time. Then I made it back to the hotel that night. I actually had a meal at Applebee's. Now, let me say this. We are, like many people, through the month of January on a fast. We're on a fast in my church. But I'm also like, fasting is so important and is very needed. I do have a little bit of issue with corporate fast because I eat better than most people do all year. So I'm like, hey man, I got a routine. I'm working out. I need some energy. It's hard to really lift some of the weights I'm lifting on an empty stomach, but I do it. I make it happen. But I'm back, not all the way back, but I'm back. So I say that to say I made good choices at Applebee's because I ended up going to Applebee's probably around 10 that night, and I think I can remember I got some type of bowl, whether it was a shrimp bowl or a chicken bowl with some type of bowl. And I had the options, I could have got some wings and some nachos and a variety of other things. And I think that was the only meal I had that day. Yeah, I didn't eat at the event. So I'm really in a serious caloric deficit. I will say this about Costa Rica. When I got on the scale today, and I'm down. I'm down. So Costa Rica, I thought, hey man, we might take a little L, but I didn't. So I'm down about 8. Down 8. I lost that. I gained that 10 from my death star. It's 2 more to lose to get me back to the reset. But I still, even from that 10, I think when I was rocking and rolling, I probably was at like 221. So right now I'm at 227. And that's the other thing. I look bigger than I like my weight. So people go like, man, you 250. I'm not 250, not 260. I'm under the 230. So that's advantageous. Ideally, if I can get in the 210, 215 range, I'll be very satisfied. But if I get up under that 210, if I'm in like 205, hey, look. Look. Matter of fact, this jacket I got on, I can't tell you the last time I was able to wear this jacket. These pants, wasn't able to wear them. But I've been on my regiment. But back to the fast. It's very vital, very important. But I have a pretty regimented meals that I eat. Like I'm tracking calories. I'm tracking the number of. I'm just not out in eating aimless calories. But the fast has been like a super booster. So not only am I getting my spirit in order, but I'm also really in a caloric is it caloric a caloric deficit. You gotta and really simply, those of us that kind of struggle with weight, and I say struggle with weight, and people are like, you don't struggle with no weight. Like, yeah, I should probably be 20 pounds lighter than where I am typically. But in terms of struggling with weight, weight's really simple. It's hard, but it's simple. Stay in a caloric deficit, exercise 3 to 4 times a week, drink water, get 6 to 7 hours of sleep, and get some cardio in there. Get maybe 30 minutes of some type of cardio, whether that's walking. I like the Stairmaster, and that could be 20 minutes. So I'm no scientist, I'm no doctor. Let's say you get 4 times a week, 20 minutes of some type of cardio, whether you walk in your neighborhood, whether you jump rope, walk on the treadmill. All those things are appropriate, and you'll lose weight. You lose weight. Now, caloric deficit, basically, you got to find out how many calories your body burns. And then from there, you can evaluate. So I think, I took this test and it told me that I burn on average, I'm burning about 3,500 calories a day. So I have a meal plan where I'm at 3,100 calories. And so there's a 400 calorie deficit. I'm lower than the amount that my body burns. Then I add some exercise into that, and I don't know the number. You on a treadmill and all this stuff. They give you the calories burned, but I don't know. But I work out 3 to 4 times a week, sometimes more than that. And I'm not even talking about like, oh, I'm in there getting it. Like, no, man, there was some days, or maybe roll back a few years ago, where I was, I had multiple memberships. I had like an Orange Theory membership, had a gym membership. I was doing, some not cross training, but some high intensity kettlebells, ropes. I had a guy who would go and probably do some of, I'm not doing all of that. I work out with weights with a trainer 2 times a week. And then maybe 3 times on my own, I'll go to the gym and do some stuff. Do a lot of legs, do a lot of back, do a good portion of chest, do a lot of shoulders. Don't do a lot of arms. Don't do a lot of core either. But I'm down 8 and I feel good, man. I feel starting to feel like myself again. Not that I didn't feel, but I'm starting to, but I'm not there. I'm not there. And typically when I do something like this, I lose 8. I go get up 6 of them back real quick. But I recognize that, hey, man, that's a cycle, and I'm getting myself out of the cycle. So hopefully that's been helpful. So I did that, and I haven't really, along with the fast and just the travel, I'm just not going to be eating like that. It's okay to be hungry. Like, I'm hungry sometimes, and it's let the body, sustain off what's already. I got some stuff. One thing people like, man, you look like you could miss a meal. I can miss a few meals, right? So that did that on Friday. Saturday, I flew into Springfield, Missouri to do a FCA marriage conference retreat comedy night. Outstanding time. Issue with Springfield, Missouri is 19 degrees when I got there. By the time I left, it was -5 degrees. It was so cold. The windshield wiper fluid froze. That's how cold it was. Froze. And I think I might have mentioned before, like, I don't typically pre-buy the gas, and I should have done it this time, because when I stopped to get gas that morning and it was -2, and -2 was like, get your butt back in that car. Get your butt in that car, Mike Goodwin. And I was like, nah, man, I got to get some gas. Get your butt in that car. I tried, man. And I didn't need much gas, but yeah, I got my butt back in that car, man. And it's cold when I do very well in cold temperatures, hot temperatures, because I know I'm not out there all day. Like, I have a different perspective. I used to be in the Army, people, and a cold, wet day, and we at the range. You just at the range. Like, there may be a warm-up tent that you can go in, but they're not going to let you post up in there. Especially when I was enlisted. Now, when I became a commissioned officer, I had a little bit more time. But even there, you can't be in the tent warm and the soldiers out cold. So you get your butt out the tent. So now, when I'm cold, I'm cold for very limited stretches of time. You cold walking from the hotel to the restaurant, from the hotel to the car. I'm fine. I'm good. I'm a be all right? But it's still some cold to smack you dead in the face. I mean, and that's that Springfield was. I walked outside, tears I see drop from my eyes. The cold was making me cry. Man, it was cold in Springfield, but I had an outstanding time. Flew from Springfield to Atlanta, met my wife in Atlanta. We flew to Costa Rica, but talk about that on the next episode. So I'm gonna talk about what the name of this podcast title is the best advice ever. And so the best advice ever I'm gonna share today is tip generously. Tip generously. That's just, I think it's good mojo to put out there. My first job, I was a bag boy at Bilo. I don't even know if there's a lot of Bilos even remaining. I think Bilo is no longer on the face of the earth. But I was a bag boy at Bilo. I have some buddies from Houston, and we would either call what my job was, you were either a courtesy clerk or a bag boy. With my people from Houston, they call them sackers. They call the bag boys sackers, right? And I don't know if you pay much attention for different regions of the country. People have different ways to say things. Some people say soda. Some people say pop. Some people make groceries. Like, we don't make groceries in the South. We go grocery shopping or we go get groceries. We buy groceries. We don't make groceries. But I think in the Midwest, I think they up there making groceries. Another thing that people say is they call out. Like, if they're sick, not going to make it to work, they call out. Never heard of calling out. We called in. You called in. From the South, we call in. If we sick, hey, I got to call in sick. Start meeting people from other parts of the country. They call out. That's what I understood about what we call bag boys or sackers. Different places have different names for different things. I would love for you to share some of the intricacies of the language from where you're from. Maybe out the West Coast, they don't make or buy groceries. They might do something else with groceries. They might not, some people, they go to the grocery store and they get a shopping cart. No, we get buggies. Yeah, let me get that buggy right there. But when I first started, my first official job where I paid taxes, I had a few jobs where I was getting paid under the table. But my first official job with FICA in the state of South Carolina got involved with my money. I was a bag boy, courtesy clerk at Bilo, and we had a sign on the window, "No tipping, please." Now, when I would work, I would take this big trash can that was outside and move it in front of that sign because I wanted those tips, baby. Holla at your boy with them tips. Like, you knew the customers that gave the good tips, so you're trying to strategically place yourself on that register so you can get that tip. And I always thought it was weird for them to have that no tipping, please. Hey, man, if these people want to be generous, these people want to be benevolent, let them do that. Don't block my blessing. Come on, man. Let me get the bag. It wasn't the bag back then when I was a kid. Let me get them tips. Let me get that paper. The coin. They call it coin. We just called it dollar bills, y'all. Which leads me, and I think that's probably one of the reasons I'm motivated to tip generously. I worked in the service industry. I delivered pizzas. I worked at the grocery store. Love a good tip. Somebody put a little folded monetary encouragement in your hand. So I encourage you to be a good, gracious, generous tipper. I think tipping communicates that people have displayed excellent service. Yep. And you set a good example, for your children, for other folks. Be a good tipper. Even if the service isn't great, if it's subpar, they say, hey, I'm going to tip you an appropriate amount of tips. Because I realize that you might not be making the top dollar doing this. And again, the server, the first that's working with and for you, should also make it easy to tip generously. But I just think it's a good thing to do. And the best advice ever today is to tip generously. Well, that's today's episode. I'm going to talk about some other things at another time. I just wanted to get this episode out into the world. Again, my apologies. What you're not going to do is hold it against me. I think this is one of the first times I've been late. I might have been late one time before, but that might have been a technical difficulty. That's not because the podcasts were not available or ready. But thank y'all so much. Please stay abreast to the Big Dad Energy Tour. Next place I will be showing up, performing the Big Dad Energy is in Kansas City. I think that's February the 3rd. That's a Saturday at 4 o'clock. Man, come out. If you are in Kansas City, Missouri, you know people, family members, advise them. Say, hey, man, there's outstanding comedians coming your way. You might want to check them out. I was talking to the people that do my social media, and the guy gave me some feedback. It was very encouraging. He was like, hey, I get messages from people that consume the content. And this guy sent him a message, and maybe he sent my clip, or he sent another clip of a person, and the guy he sent it to was like, oh yeah, she's on our roster, and we got, other people. Like, I think he went to the roster and looked. He was like, oh man, y'all got some great people. I see you work with Mike Goodwin. He's criminally underrated. Criminally underrated. That's a pretty good compliment, right? I'm gonna take that. Mike Goodwin, criminally underrated. I think refreshingly funny is what I stand 10 toes down on, but criminally underrated. We got to change that. We got to get some more ratings. We got to get these ratings up. But again, stay abreast. Get on my website, man. If you have any questions, any concerns, you got any of those terms that you want to send me, info@comedianmikegoodwin.com. Thank y'all so much. Sorry, this is an abbreviated episode. Again, y'all, shout outs to Jeremy and his beautiful bride and their new child. They have a new son out in the world. He's produced a man child, and I'm so excited and ecstatic for him and his journey into fatherhood. And I'm excited for y'all following my journey through this bowtie comedy journey and adventure that I'm on. Look forward to talking to y'all next week, man. It's Costa Rica. It's probably good that I say that for next episode because there's a lot to talk about. But I'll see you next time. Same bat place, same bat channel. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. And I appreciate it. See you next time, y'all. Peace.